Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Bethany Walsh, and I'm the project manager for the Climate Change Message in a Bottle project, which we're going to be showing you the film for this morning. And before I begin, I would really like to thank Ingrid Henderson for that little animation there, and all those involved in her music project, which is also titled Message in a Bottle and was funded by Nature Scott for the Year of Coasts and Waters in 2020. And we'll watch a little bit more of that animation at the very end of this talk. So as I mentioned, I am Bethany, and I'm the project manager for the Climate Change Message in a Bottle project, which is bringing messages from young islanders all around Scotland and the world to COP26 here in Glasgow. So I'm here today with Dr. Francesco Sindico, who is co-director of Strathclyde Centre for Environmental Law and Governance and the Carbon Neutral Islands lead for the Scottish Government Islands team. And I'm also here with Andy McKinnon, who is the artistic director at Taigh Museum and Art Centre and Uist Film, and he produced the project film for us, which is very exciting. So during this event, we're going to premiere the film for you for the very first time. So this is quite a special moment for all of us. And I'd like to also say hello to all of our participating schools that are joining us this morning. And it's also their first time seeing themselves on the screen. So that's, very exciting for them as well. And well done to everyone who sent their messages in. So after watching the film, we're going to hear some questions from participating schools to our climate and island experts, Francesco Sindico and James Ellesmere, who's the CEO of Island Innovation, who are kindly hosting this event with us today. And then after that, we'll hear some messages from a variety of people and organisations, including the Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change. But before we get going, we would really love to hear where in the world you're all joining from. So on all the different platforms that you're watching this, it would be great if you could put in the chat where you're from, especially if you have links to islands. It would be really great to hear from you. And if you want to ask any questions and you're joining us on Zoom, please use the Q&A box so that we see them, and we'll be answering some questions at the very end of the session. So I'll introduce the project a little bit more for those of you who don't know about it. So over the last several months, Climate Change Message in a Bottle have been collecting messages from island school children to COP26. And the project was founded collaboratively by Strathclyde Centre for Environmental Law and Governance, which I'll refer to as SCELG from now on, and Taigh Museum and Arts Centre, which is in North Uist in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. So SCELG founded originally the Island Explorers programme, which is an educational island-themed curriculum resource which explores global environmental issues and is aimed at primary age school children. And in linking up with Andy McKinnon, who's with us today, so Andy actually found a message in a bottle on North Uist sent from Greenland, which wrote about melting ice caps and how it's affecting traditional hunting there. And so we fast forward several years, and these ideas kind of came together to form the Climate Change Message in a Bottle project, which has been a really great success so far. So what has happened so far? We have 30 island schools involved all around the world. So it's mostly based in Scottish islands, but this also includes the Solomon Islands, Hawaii, the Isle of Man, the Isle of Wight, Astypalia in Greece, and also a couple of places in Greenland. And we've been working with Youth Scotland and Island Innovation to allocate island champions to deliver educational workshops at island schools on climate science, clean energy, and COP26. So we'd really like to thank all of the island champions who've been working locally with their schools to deliver this project and collect messages for the film. And many schools also undertook beach cleans during these educational workshops, which on these beach cleans, they collected plastic bottles for the sculpture, which you'll see behind Andy, this 3-meter high bottle made from bottles, which we're going to be taking down to Glasgow on Friday. And so the outputs for this project are a film, which you're seeing for the first time today, a sculpture, as you can see behind Andy, and also an interactive map, which is hosted on the Island Innovation island space at COP26. And on this map, you can explore the individual messages sent from different islands around the world who have participated. And later on in this webinar, I'll show you a QR code, which will give you easy access to that and also give you the chance to leave a response to the children's messages yourselves. So we've had several other events at COP and during COP as well. Last Friday, we were at COP26, which is the youth COP that happens the weekend before COP, and we spoke to delegates, young delegates from all around the world at that, and it was a really great success. And then this Monday, at the Landing Hub, which is in Glasgow, and it's the site of lots of different events, which you can check out if you're in the city. So this Monday, we're hosting another film screening there. And we're going to have some visiting MSPs from the Scottish Government see and respond to the film at that event as well, which is very exciting. And it's great to hear that politicians are listening to the children's messages, which is, yeah, really great. And so after COP26, we will be returning back to schools with responses from COP26 attendees to explain what happened at COP and what this may mean for island futures. So we're really concerned with the legacy of this project and how we can get young people thinking about what actions they would like to be taken on climate change in their local areas. So through this project, we've been aiming to elevate island perspectives and bring the voices of young people to the forefront of the climate debate by involving school children in COP26. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass on to Andy McKinnon at Uist Film, who's the producer of the film we're going to see, and he's going to speak a little bit about the film and what he does up at Taigh Chearsabhagh in North Uist.
Thanks very much, Bethany. Yeah, it's been a fantastic project to work on. It's been quite intense over the last month or so. With just amazing contributions from all over the world. It's really been fantastic, and I'm sure you'll enjoy the film when we watch it shortly. I want to tell you a wee bit about the kind of backstory for me on this project. This is the bottle that I found back in 2006 on Ballasher Beach here in North Uist. And in the bottle is a message from, it was barely legible, much of it, but the parts that were legible, I could see that it had been placed in the ocean or on an ice floe right up at the very north of Baffin Bay, which is on the west coast of Greenland. And it was from a guy, Niels Bertelsen, who was on a hunting trip. They had 2 boats and they were out on this kind of 3-week long hunting trip, but they weren't having any success. And so Niels had time to write messages to put in bottles and then place in the ice floes. And ever since I found the message, I wanted to make contact with Niels and find out what the story was about, why the hunting wasn't good and what was changing for them there. And it took a long while to actually track down Niels, but eventually I did, and eventually I managed to get some money from Screen Scotland to go and start making a documentary film project about Niels and climate change in Greenland, how that was affecting them, but also how it was affecting us here. Polar ice melt obviously means sea level rise, and in Uist we're very, very vulnerable to that, very, very low-lying islands. So I went and met Niels and started that filmmaking project. Unfortunately, kind of it was cut short due to COVID, and haven't been able to go back to Greenland since. But as part of that bigger documentary project, I wanted to make a more participatory project, looking getting people to write messages to COP26. And just by coincidence, discovered that Francesco was also planning such a very similar project, and so we both got together, and this is the result of it. It's been a fantastic project, as I said, to work on. Really brilliant to work with Bethany and Francesco, and fantastic to work with all of you, all the schools involved, all over the world. And it's been really amazing to see the response, the responses from everybody. I'd like to say thank you to all the island champions, all the people on the islands who were engaged by Skellig to help coordinate the project on the islands with the schools, and to the teachers, and all the pupils and everybody. There's mostly it's schools, but there's been some non-school input as well. It's really just heartening to realise the awareness of the issues that we are facing, and I think the film hopefully is a real testament to that, and a powerful message to those in power that we need to change. We need to change now. So, without anything further to do, I think we should have a look at the film. It's almost half an hour long. It's fresh off the edit suite. It's literally just finished. So hope you enjoy it.
I'll send an SOS through the world. I'll send an SOS through the world. I hope that someone gets my. I hope that someone gets my. I hope that someone gets my message in a bottle moon. Message in a bottle. Sending out an SOS, sending out an SOS, sending out an SOS, sending out an SOS.
I'm just gonna let me go speak for this one.
Time's ticking, we need to do something.
Dear delegates, I love my island and everything on it, but it will be flooded if we do nothing about climate change. And that is why we need to change our ways.
We need to stop burning fossil fuels to save our planet.
I want to tell my story about climate change. For me, if we experience the sea levels rising and it affects our life. And we experience the heat of the sun is too much. So we need to take action now.
Dear COP26, for me, you haven't been doing enough. I live on Barra, and I know that climate change is a problem. And by 2050, it'll probably be too late.
Tilton éan taibh agus chanaigh na bhealachan bíodh, Ghainneal turbines gúlóir acinn agus hána maithan ban a bhasacha déanaí sibh.
Feeling sin a bhí ag dúpar choléis on our planet.
Our future is at stake, so please help the world know.
SOS! Save our seas!
I want to tell all leaders to stop a logging company to cut down more trees in our forest.
Dear COP26, I hope you're having a good time in Glasgow. I'm Ruby in Primary 6, and I go to a school called Schoolchildren on the Isle of Uist. I'm writing to you to tell you how climate change is affecting first will affect our island and how it's becoming a worry. A major concern is rising sea levels.
Féimi sin a cúteachach fanat féimi sin a clach go baisecha stat a cur scital an sta an bhuis. Stat a clach atá na fósil clach skite.
Do your bit by profit, not for profit. Profit shouldn't cost the earth.
Giando yichal, ble proj, ganyer som proj, chabuchor proj a chosken su.
The Earth is getting so hot. The wee planets are the Earth's the normal temperatures. Their sums up because they like the temperature. The super big planet is our Earth, and it has sums down because it's too hot for him.
Stat a clacug óla gúil agus gas, neoch a bí súil acin iracal.
Please stop using fossil fuels and use more renewable energy.
Please use less fossil fuels and more renewable energy. Use less plastic because it is killing our sea life and messing up our beautiful planet.
Static on a fossil.
I think you should use less fossil fuel and a more eco-friendly energy.
We need new laws to limit how much fossil fuels people can use each year. This will reduce the amount of carbon dioxide emitted. Save the ice and save the polar bears.
Dear COP26, we need to stop using coal and start using more renewable energy. We need to help the polar bears because their homes are melting, and we need to keep our oceans clean.
Ukiorpassuimaan taassumanassiunneraninggaani malunnit immakkusarparsiataarneraninggaani ukiorpassueqaangiupput maanna sikuusarnera allangoriartarpoq imaasarnerput annertusigaluttuinnarpoq siut kingullermi eqqaamawa matuma sikuulluarnera sukkutamatiu angallaviusinnaallun 1995 taavalu ukiutivi qaangiutitlartut aamma ataasiarta sikortilaarpugut taamaangayittumik kisiannili piffissa annersaani sikuniapilortorsuangornikoo
If nothing happens about climate change, then part of my island will be underwater.
Suggest Elaine Salnature Alman Helena Nanier. She Elaine Orsaf Boy Hound, Ha Airstone and Cunners Guitar. Lucy Buddha Gary Hannah Backen is Navaki in the dollar Fallow. Kujak Hannah Christian later the Huing the Tustium Severe. Ha Ecola Givelan Chilling the Gas Misua Sound. Iggy Fallow.
This level is rising and our islands are in danger. Take action now.
Dear delegates,
Arran is a small, unique island with nice animals and other things, but if the sea levels rise, we won't have much of Arran left.
Dear COP26, climate change is affecting my island, Uist. It is in danger from the sea level rising.
Dear COP26, my name is Joyce and I'm from Solomon Islands, and I'm a student of Harvest Academy. We know that sea levels are rising and it affects our country, which causes cyclone and flash floods. We need leaders to take action now.
Dear COP26, climate change is a very big problem on my island because the sea level is rising, causing flood and extreme weather.
I want my leaders to take action against sea level rise.
Climate change is making the water rise because it is getting hotter, so we need to stop this somehow. Dear COP26, our island has villages that are near beaches and big seas. As the sea levels rise, then villagers will soon be washed away. Other islands are facing the same problems.
уллутсинни микропластик аярнарторсиутаавоқ пиффиссами аггерсуми эққаккат исумангинеқаратик теққааннартартут уумасут нерисарилералуттуиннассаваат нерисариқатингииннеруллу аққани инуннут сунниутеқассаллуни лоқарфеэққами инуит фамманнеримиссааннааниллута қанеқ эққаккат таама амерлатингисут теққааннартут унингатиннеқааннартут qanoq ililluta annikillisarsinnaavagут qanorli nunarsuarmi suukomani misiaartit angullungit inulimmi eqqakkat amerlanerit ajornertorsiutaatimaat okiuni tulliuttini mikroplastimut kinguaassavut makkunungilu eqqakkanuk migutsitsinermullu pilliutinginiarpagut
Dear COP26, make laws to reuse plastic so there is less pollution. Please help us.
My name is Izzy and I come from the Isle of Arran. Use more biodegradable packaging. Stop destroying the rainforests. Reduce the amount of plastic.
Make people recycle more. Don't waste paper because if they knock all the trees down, we won't be able to breathe.
My message to COP26 is for the government to produce more biodegradable wrappers and produce and also make biodegradable things at the same price of plastic things. Example, wrappers and straws.
My message is please recycle bottles, metal, paper and cardboard.
Recycle, reuse and reduce. And take action, don't just talk, and that's how we'll save our world.
Please stop polluting the sea with plastic.
Stop dumping plastic into our oceans. Recycle it.
Static plastic can read machine evi a group or color the sun or planet.
Dear COP26, I like my island because it has a lot of wildlife that everyone loves, so I would not want to lose it. I would not want rubbish going in the sea. That would be bad.
And stop polluting the sea. Dear COP26, our island is fish friendly. Protect our sea.
Please help to build a waste-free world so our seabeds and animals are protected.
I want the government to invest in a boat that can pick up all the plastic bottles in the sea.
SOS! Save our seas!
Hagnoichen gna hietje a gavel boy a hula dunya figan tul.
Haar sul choprisha.
Guhara Jarhilin Uyishatua.
Ants and how many chach?
A senior son can be our airline.
A clacha lu an nuachel tain is a roper.
Maar klaring grenia agus lu gia.
An sin chalig sin a las an de chano fossil a chlachgo.
A varach a shen.
Femi sin a gin a kinjach. Nachel sin a clachach single-use plastic. A nata shen, smooth a chiffer goy in plastic a clachach. A rias, a serious, 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 a serious.
Ni sin a hula shian a shen.
Be aach via fangaking.
Is atje fudoch savatje ik moet is cheaters on our biogen.
What I think we can change is stop chopping down trees, or at least plant more in their place.
Keirtje kleven is on the curtain of fastness moor. Clech butinadius ice clech bicycle and car.
I want to tell all leaders to stop logging acting.
Dear COP26, I think we should plant more trees to absorb more CO2. We should also burn less fossil fuels and get more hydro, solar, etc. energy.
Messages to COP26. Plant more trees.
I want my leaders to stop cutting down trees from our forest.
Why do people keep cutting down trees?
Deforestation has been going on for many years and is been endangering a lot of animals.
Grow more trees.
My message to COP26 is make more electric cars and make them cheaper.
I think we should try and walk more places instead of using our cars. I would also like to see cycle paths around our island which would encourage more people to cycle instead of using cars.
Make public transport better and cheaper so people don't have to use their cars all the time.
If you live close to school, unless it is bad weather, you should walk.
To stop the sea levels rising, we can stop driving everywhere and start walking.
So I have an idea. When we all go for a walk, we will pick up some litter and walk more and cycle because cars make CO2 that is poisonous. I hope we all can change.
And my question to you is, can you negotiate an agreement to influence more people to use electric cars?
I would like to ride my bike to school on a safe road, so can you help us make a safe path for the bikes, please?
Behold, liberals nog 'n 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 '
Another thing we can do is try not to use cars much, but instead walk or cycle. Please look after our world. It's our home. If we treated it better, the world would treat us better.
We have to cycle more.
Ami giri figita shia a harthain elevator sana kumula machar a samja. Ha an machar chusnok le tol fulichin agus ha tol shilan an na fulichin ha codinach an agus ha toy an mad tron agus chloch ha tol codinach agus bielichin ha an machar a fas nas ligge sala a vud be town on.
Dear COP26, bees work for others. Be friendly. Let's honor and protect the bees.
The beach is where the machar ends. It's miles and miles of golden soft sand, but we see more and more plastic washing up and dead wildlife. The sea level rising has a big effect on the machar. Every time there's a storm, the waves eat away meters of the dunes. The dunes protect the villages, the airport, roads, schools and our homes.
Floods, sea level rising, ice melting, greenhouse gases,
Plastic pollution,
food contamination,
carbon dioxide,
extreme weather,
animal extinction,
fossil fuels,
droughts,
overconsumption.
This is just the beginning of climate change, but there is much more to come.
We're sad, terrified for what is coming, and we're mad that this has been allowed to happen.
Dear COP26, I think we should make more wind turbines so we can use wind to make electricity.
Ami agiri sil alingan skaskutal agus chinga out na kautin. Remi east barach turbines agus nasleya gas is olla. Remi si every jesel is on shokur shias prishin karichin jalang.
I would like you to try give the countries with the less renewable energy sources more equipment so they can use more renewable energy. I also think you should try agree on something and listen to all the countries.
Reduce the amount of fuel cars and make more electric cars.
Make electric cars cheap and build more charging points. Build more solar panels on the ground and on roofs.
I think that we need some new ways to make electricity, for instance, tidal energy.
We want geothermal power in our homes instead of fossil fuels. Please provide money to help.
My message to COP26 is we should all donate money to build more windmills for each island.
I think that on the Isle of Wight we need some tidal wave energy. Maybe we should put them on Wycliffe Bay.
If we want to do anything about this, the governments of the world could invest in renewable energy. For instance, tidal, solar and hydroelectric power.
My name is Lucy and I'm from the Isle of Arran. My message is to create more wave and tidal turbines.
I think it would be great to put water turbines around the coast of Arran. We could stop climate change and protect this island and everything on it.
every country to use more renewable energy, and I want rich countries to help poor countries.
If wind turbines are made worldwide, there should be wind turbines worldwide.
Please try to stop all of the climate change and make sure people are using renewable energy, such as solar energy, wind energy, and biomass. Stop talking and start acting.
My message to COP26 is more electric cars, less oil, more wind turbines, more solar panels, so we can help animals and the earth. More greenhouses, so you don't need to keep on going to the shops, and you don't use fossil fuels. Less carbon dioxide.
Féimeashin barach charging points ar son carichin John and out na hélan in yakin. Féimean sin a coit is down na creating was Kyle sin. Féimean na buitin akin the slug of plastic cutting na hélan in yakin. Duine san bhí in seotálaigh sin mé chéan bláthach na crunne, cud startar mar séta hóla. Starta clachú plastic agus con fossil fuel.
I want to tell all leaders to provide more money in order to fight against climate change.
You are doing a lot of talking but not enough acting. We need to act now to save our planet.
Climate change is affecting the world, so do your part.
The climate change affects our water supplies. Save water on islands.
Don't fight about climate change. Discuss climate change.
This is Earth speaking. Stop people hurting me. Please. Crying Earth emoji.
It is vital we plant trees and completely obliterate the use of oil and coal. It's time to make a difference.
Sort this out. We need to get our world under control.
Stop making problems and start solving them.
Dear COP26, this is our message. Take action now!
5 has become the 1. 1 has become the 5. Sun has become a rock. Rock will turn into sand. What lay beneath the sea has now become the land. Sea soon may rise again to cover where we stand. Sea may rise again to cover where we stand right now. Sea may rise again to cover where we stand right now. Black says and rain and storm, Navis jachgaling and the loy. Gas sound and doinach coin. Lucha is was a chief. Nam va palcha sau. Quarchi dashka ushka fear. Gloas jealous loas rachcoin. Ganjil gatim magwal. Edi kuana dishka sarkodach shinya edanji. Edi kuana dishka sarkodach edar larihi. Ripples and rock revealed, cracked by the crashing wave. Older than life itself, seabed of younger world. Sheet upon sheet of rock, peeling away the years. Water becomes the clock, measuring measuring time in layers. Sea may rise again to cover where we stand right now. Sea may rise again to cover where we stand right now. Sea may rise again to cover where we stand right now. Sea may rise again to cover where we stand right now.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching that. And we'd also like to say a massive well done to all of the pupils involved and everyone who's made this happen. And especially a really big thank you to the Scottish Government for funding this project, and also to the Scottish Government Islands team specifically. One point to also mention is you'll have heard a lot of Gaelic being spoken in that film there by our Scottish schools in the Northern Isles. Gaelic is Scotland's native language, for those who don't know about that. So I just thought I'd mention that. So what we're going to do now is a lot of the participating schools have sent questions in for our climate and island experts, Francesco Sindico and James Ellesmere. So I'm going to invite them to turn their cameras on now, and I will read some of these questions to them. So I guess the first question is, and this can be directed to both of you as well, and it would be great if you could introduce yourselves a little bit as you answer this. So the first question is from pupils of Yoligari Primary School on the Isle of Barra. The question is, are you attending COP26 in Glasgow? And if so, what are the updates so far? So I'd like to invite Francesco to answer this question first, and then we'll take James after.
Yes, and let me take advantage of joining now just to thank all those involved in this production. Scottish Government for the support, you, Bethany, for running the show so well, Andy for producing it, Island Innovation for the map and for all the support, and everybody else like Scottish Island Federation, Glasgow Science Centre and so forth. But going to the actual question, and I'm delighted. I hope Yoligari Primary School is there seeing us. I was actually lucky enough to go there and deliver the workshops and talk to the kids there about climate change. And if there's one thing that we want to say, is that kids get it. The children know what's happening. And yes, I was lucky enough to attend the first 2 days of COP26. I was in the Blue Zone. You may have seen it on television, a lot of queues getting in. A lot of famous people there. I bumped in a few of them. I saw a former president of the Maldives and so forth and so forth. Now, what is happening? Rather than telling you the big things that are happening in terms of what the presidents have said, have not said, I attended a specific event from an organization, and you'll see the president in just a few minutes, Caleb, from the Pacific Island Students Fighting Against Climate Change. And they had an event at COP26, and they really want to do the following. They want to put the finger on the whole world, just like you did in your video, and say, there is something wrong here. And our rights, the way we live, our Makar, as you said, the area in Scotland, but also other islands like Astipalea, Hawaii, Solomon Islands that you saw, are just not like before, and something has to be done about it. And this specific group, which you'll see Caleb, focuses on potentially bringing a big case, a big request to a big court, which happens to be in the Netherlands. And that's one thing I saw at COP26. But I saw many other things. I saw many countries saying, and not just talking, but actually acting. And I think this is the hopefully most promising thing. I think the key message from the kids was act now. So you could see from many countries the renewable energies that they are deploying, the projects that they're doing, the finance that is flowing. So hopefully, and this was just the first 2 days, by the end of COP26, we'll have much more action and less talking. I'll give the floor to James.
Thank you so much for your answer to that question there. I think James has popped out for just a couple of minutes. So if you don't mind, I'll ask you another question there.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So this is another question from the Barra schools, and it is, what is your job and what does it involve? So I'm sure they'd really like to hear about your work at the Scottish Government as Carbon Neutral Islands Lead.
Yeah, so I'm currently working with an amazing team of colleagues at Scottish Government. I'm the Carbon Neutral Islands Lead. The Scottish Government has put a pledge and has said that by 2040, at least 3 islands within Scotland will become carbon neutral, and Scottish Government will support them in that process. So I have been asked to, together with the team, to lay out a strategy to really decarbonize the islands. But what I want to say to the kids in Barra and anywhere else in Scotland and around the world is that it is important to decarbonize, to make islands greener in a way, however, that is just, that is that doesn't leave no one behind. And what I mean by that is that we need to create with the islanders, because they are, and the kids in particular, they are the ones who know exactly the kind of future they want. But it needs to be an inclusive future. It needs to be a future that is affordable to those who are currently living on the islands. So I'm looking forward to continuing my journey with my colleagues at Scottish Government, not just to put in interesting technology, not just to work with the people of the islands, but really to do it in a way that makes sense. And beyond that, I also work at the University of Strathclyde. And as you mentioned at the beginning, one of the things I'm most proud of in a way is this project called Island Explorers, which I developed with my colleague Joe Pitt, which I know is amongst the participants. And that really did and has been doing for over 4 years, more or less what we're doing here. We're really engaging with kids in Scotland, around the world, in the Solomon Islands, in the Netherlands, in Astipalea now, and really not just raising awareness, but doing it with them. And really, while we raise awareness, we adults learn from the kids. I'll stop there.
Thank you so much for that answer, Francesco. So the next question I will ask to James, and it's quite a broad question, and this is from a pupil at Whiting Bay Primary School on the Isle of Arran, which is actually where I went to primary school back in the day. And this question is, what will life be like on the Isle of Arran when we grow up if nothing is done? And if you'd like to introduce yourself a little bit as well, James, before you answer that question. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Sorry, I had to just pop out quickly then. And I just want to say a special thanks to you, Bethany, for all the work you put into bringing this webinar together, and obviously all the other partners and contributors to this session. My name is James Ellsmore from Island Innovation, and we are hosting the Island Space at COP26 as a virtual hybrid area to try and connect what's happening in Glasgow with islands around the world. And so happy that this is our first session of the COP. I'll be there in Glasgow, arriving tomorrow, and looking forward to joining the chaos. So in terms of that question, well, I think I wish we knew the answer. What immediately comes to mind. The recent IPCC report has given some pretty dire warnings of what the future could be, and there is there's a real fear that if climate change isn't tackled, that the impacts could be very serious for people living in places like Arran. That being said, I think we can also be optimistic. There are efforts being made by people around the world to reduce the amount of carbon going into our atmosphere, and also to find ways to help island communities adapt and change to ensure that life can remain prosperous in these communities. So yeah, it's really a hard one to know, and I guess we're also really depending on something coming out of the negotiations happening right now in Scotland, to secure a strong future for places like Arran.
Great, thank you so much for that answer to that question. And I will just ask one more question to the both of you. And so this question is from a pupil from Rum Primary School on the Isle of Rum, which is in the small isles just below the Isle of Skye in Scotland. And this question is, why didn't people think about the consequences of climate change sooner? So I'll pass to James first and then let Francesco answer afterwards.
That's a great question. And again, one I wish we hadn't had a better answer to. This has been something that we've known about now for decades. You could argue that many of the emissions happening were made, or much of the carbon in the atmosphere was made when we didn't know better. And the Industrial Revolution and other periods happened when we just didn't know better as a species. But now we definitely know better. The science is there and has been for years. And it's sad to see that even with 100%, or not 100, but with a very high with very convincing evidence of the threats of climate change, that not enough has been done and that we're taking so long. And I think that is a fault of our societies, that we don't act quick enough in times of crisis. And we saw that last year as well with the COVID pandemic. So people are getting more aware, and I'm really hoping that the direction of travel is good, but I wish we'd have had action that had started much before, much earlier.
Just to jump in there, Bethany, and this was a question that actually came, or a comment in the chat. Somebody said, oh, still seeing these videos, this discussion. I mean, seriously, we knew this back in the 70s or in the 80s. So clearly, I agree that this has been left way too late, and we're doing not enough. I do think, however, one thing has changed in 2021, and this is precisely what we have seen in the video. The kids are aware now. The new generation is aware, and the new generation has very clear ideas. I mean, again, I was lucky enough to go myself to do some of these workshops to talk about climate change, COP26 to the kids, and all our island ambassadors will have probably seen the same. They know it. They know exactly what's happening. And they're the ones I really think that will make the difference. Back in the 80s, 90s, even a bit later, when the actual international climate change legal process, political process started, I am not 100% sure that there was this awareness from the younger generation. So that I do think is a game changer. And those young people that we saw in the video will, go in and join the socioeconomic part of society. And they're really the ones that will make a change. So I am still optimistic that, in particular, thanks to them, thanks to the kids that we saw in the video, we will be able to turn this around.
Great, thank you so much, Francesco and James, for answering those questions. And yeah, just to reiterate, it's amazing all of the messages that have been sent in, and really the eyes are on young people this COP, who have really made a massive impact over the last couple of years with the Fridays for Future strikes and all of the youth action that's taking place all around the world. So speaking of that, we're now going to hear a message from Caleb Mehanwa Pollard, who is the president of Pacific Islands Students Fighting Climate Change. And then we're going to watch a music video as well, which was made by them. So just bear with me one moment while I share my screen with you.
Of Solomon Islands. good fella afternoon from here in Marova Lagoon of Solomon Islands. As you can see, yes, I am sitting on a boat surrounded by these islands in the calm breeze. I am also honored to share this creative production, The Islands Are Calling. But first things first, my name is Caleb Mahanua Pollard, and I am the president of this organization, the Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change. And I'm also working and partnering with One Ocean Hub in creating sustainable ocean education for our young islanders to protect and care for the ocean. So about this music video, The Islands Are Calling is a creative production that seeks to raise the voice of youth in calling action against the climate crisis while showing the wonders of the Pacific, the way of life, their tradition, the culture, the nature, which is sadly under threat by climate change. At the beginning of this year, one of the locations we shot this video was one of these islands around here. Just last month, I took a visit and I was surprised to see that this island was unrecognizable. For us here in the Pacific, we will continue to fight. One of my closest friends, he says, less fata, more leka, which basically means less talk, more action. I hope you enjoy this music video. Thank you.
So that was the music video there. So I'll just play it for you. Bear with me while I share my screen again. Here we go.
Where do we go from here? Why are we even here? Opportunities don't come easy. Inequalities fueled by the system. As the sun gets hotter, none of us is safe anymore. As the sun gets hotter, none of us is safe anymore. The islands are calling, climate change is real. Families are suffering, held against their will. Time is slipping like sands from my head. We silently weeping, it's never the same anymore. The toxicity not only runs in the seas, but in humanity as well. The air becomes heavier to breathe, to breathe.
I know they ain't deaf, I know they ain't blind. Why can't they admit it's a threat to mankind? Ignorance commitments, destruction's in sight. It's always too late if we're ignoring today. Live for tomorrow even though it seems wrong. We only got one life, one planet to call home. Hopefully like never before. If you may not stand up now, then who now best stand up for you, me? And we must act and take action now. Me can't go run like a refugee. Represent the Pacific, that's my island home. Time to make the necessary moves, here we go. Politics aside, we don't want no more ecocide. Let's fight the climate crisis facing planet Earth. Calling out to the global community. Time for you to speak openly on climate change.
The islands are calling. Climate change is real. Families are suffering, held against their will. Time is slipping like sex from my head. We suddenly awaken. It's never the same anymore. The toxicity not only runs in the seas, but in humanity as well. The air becomes heavier to breathe,
Thank you all very much for watching that video there with us. I'm now gonna, before inviting you all to ask questions, that is people joining as members of the public, I'm going to share my screen again with you and talk a little bit more about the kind of themes that the messages covered that were sent in from our island schools. So I'll just share that now. So as you can see here, and there's also a picture there of the final plastic bottle standing at 3 meters high, made from all of the bottles that the kids collected on the beach of their local areas as they wrote their messages to COP26. So as you can see here, we've got a graph of the top 5 themes that were kind of covered in the messages that the kids sent in to us. And we did have hundreds of messages sent in from all of our partner schools, which was really amazing. So the top themes here that we see are renewable energy, sea level rise, fossil fuels, plastic pollution, demands of political change, and also deforestation. And we kind of saw these covered in the film as well. So many of the messages spoke about how islands are really among the most vulnerable places to climate change, with increasing storm surges and sea level rise. And they also spoke about how islands are often tight communities and are hubs of climate action and innovation. And if you'd like to see every single one of the individual messages and kind of explore where these messages have come from, you can scan the QR code, which is on the screen here. And this will take you to a Google form where you can find the link to our map, which is hosted by Island Innovation. And on this map, you can explore all of the islands, find out a little bit more about them, and also see an individual video from each island school. So we really invite you to scan the QR code there. And in this QR code, you're also invited to leave your own response to the children's messages if you fill out the Google form. And we'll be taking all of these responses back to the island schools after COP. So it'd be really great to hear what you have to say in response to their messages, and also how you're going to take these messages forward within your own island organizations. So it'd be really great to hear from you all as well. So I'll pass on to Francesco now to talk a little bit about the legacy of the project. And while he's talking about that, I'll also invite you to think about any questions you would like to ask us before we finish up, and you can post them in the Q&A section of the Zoom webinar. So I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll pass over to Francesco now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bethany. You may actually want to leave that screen on so our audience still has the QR code, because that is very much part of the project in itself. So one thing we thought about from the beginning when we were starting this project was about legacy. You know, we could have gone to the Scottish Islands, to islands around the world, asked for messages, bring them back to COP delegates, which I'll explain how we're going to do, and then just disappear. In many COPs and many events, the legacy really is left for the period in which an event takes place in a city. But we really wanted to do something different. We really wanted to have a post-COP26 aspect of this project. And the way we're going to do it is that all island ambassadors who are already living and settled on islands will go back to the schools where they did workshops. The workshops were introducing climate change, introducing renewables, and introducing what COP26 would have been. But now we're going to go back and report back from COP26. We will explain what happened at COP26, obviously in the most simple possible way. And we will explain to the kids and the teachers and the community of the islands who actually received that message and how they want to take it forward. And this is where the QR code is important, because once you scan the QR code, you can answer two questions. The first one is just a reply to the kids. So you have seen the video, you have seen their top 5 themes. Feel free to send them a message back. But even more important, there's a second question is, how are you, whether or not you're involved in the negotiations, whether or not you have a direct input into the world of climate change policy or climate change technology, engineering, whatever it is that you do, how are you going to take their message forward? Because, and I've heard this also at COI, at the Conference of the Youth, yes, the youth has power. Yes, the youth has a voice, but the youth also needs to be youth. They also just need to grow. They need to be at school. They need to learn. They need to have fun. So although they are very powerful, we also don't have to just delegate all the responsibility to them. We adults have to have a conversation with the young islanders in this case, bring back that message, try to do action and less talking, and take it forward. So please scan that QR code, answer the 2 questions, and just like Bethany has incredibly done here, which she literally has mined hundreds of messages, we will do the same with all the messages that come in the QR code, and then we'll go back to the islands in December to tell them what has happened. But we realized very soon, when Bethany, myself, and everybody involved in the project, that this project was actually growing arms and legs. And in a way, there's no reason why this should finish at COP26. If you have the chance to see the map that Island Innovation has created, again, amazing work from them. Obviously now the Scottish Islands are very populated. There are a few islands, around the world, but there's no reason why between now and the next COP, COP27 in Egypt, we should populate that map even more. We should have island ambassadors from all around the world bringing the messages of the young islanders into this map and repeating this message stronger to COP27. Because even in the negotiations, we are at a time of implementation and not so much of negotiation. The bigger picture of how climate change will be dealt with is already there. It's called the Paris Agreement. It's like an engine, it's like a machine. And COP26 is just putting the last bolts in place in this machine. Hopefully, once COP26 finishes, this machine will start running. But the young islanders will have to check that it runs well, have to push it even faster. And between now and COP27, through the Island Innovation Map, through the climate change message in a bottle, we can play our role in that. So this doesn't finish at COP26, doesn't finish on the 13th of November. We'll go back to the islands, we'll report back, and then we will plan our journey from here to COP27 and beyond to really have this voice of the young islanders as a constant reminder to the negotiators, to those who can take action, to not just talk about it, but actually take action. So Bethany, I'll leave it to that. You can probably take the screen off now, and we can take some questions now.
Great, thank you so much, Francesco, for talking about that. So I believe that one of our friends at Island Innovation has been on the various platforms looking at any questions that have been posted. I can start off with the ones that we have here on Zoom. And so we have a question from, sorry, I'll just read them quickly first. Are there any good practices from Scottish Islands that have been highlighted through this project? And that is from Erica Clarkson. And so one thing that I found out about that's really interesting, and I'll let James answer this question if he wants to in a minute. But on the Isle of Egg, Egg have their own renewable energy, which is community owned, and 95% of the Isle of Egg is powered by this community owned renewable energy. So that's a really strong example of where an island have kind of come together to take action themselves towards climate change. I don't know if James and Francesco have any other good examples there that they want to jump in and talk about.
I think, in a way, the project as it stands now wasn't there to highlight as a good practice. It was more to take their voice and bring it back to COP26. However, in doing those workshops, and even just talking to the teachers and the kids, as you said, in Egg, but in so many other islands, you could see really interesting projects that are happening, are taking place. Beyond this project, and a lot of these projects were also mentioned at COP26 yesterday by Cabinet Secretary Mary Goujon of Rural Affairs and Islands herself. There are plenty of incredibly good, interesting, good practices across Scottish Islands, from aviation, from renewable energy, from community participation in projects. So there's definitely a plethora of them. Obviously, we need more of them, and we need to expand them as much as we can. But I know James has also been in some parts of Scottish Islands, so he may have some ideas as well.
Sure. Well, I think perhaps beyond this project, but in the wider scope of the work that we're doing at Island Innovation, we're always looking to share these good practices. And I think it's really important when there's an event happening like COP to think of this in multi-dimensional. So it's not just energy projects from Scotland, of which there are many impressive ones that other people can learn from, but it's also these projects in Scotland. What can they learn from something happening in the Caribbean or the Pacific Islands on a wide range of issues? And so we really try and use the Island Innovation platform to provide opportunities to share information, acknowledging those differences, but trying to connect good practices or interesting opportunities to inspire how that can be adapted in any local context.
Great, thanks, James. So this is a question from Nora Barnes, who is actually our island champion on the Isle of Egg, the Isle of Rum, and the Isle of Muck in the small isles, and she delivered the project there to the schools and collected their messages to bring to us. So we're really grateful for Nora's contributions to this project. So Nora wants to ask how many young people are directly involved with the negotiations at COP26. And so I guess to kind of start off this, to answer this question, we spoke at COP26, which is the kind of youth conference which happened the weekend before COP. So we were there last Friday, and there are delegates from all around the world, young people who have been sent by their countries and organizations to be present. They put together a policy document that gets sent directly, a youth statement that goes to COP And so that's one way that young people are directly involved. All of our young people in the video here are directly involved in some way, as they are sending their messages to COP, and they will be seen by so many stakeholders and delegates at COP. So that's another really exciting way to be involved. That doesn't mean you necessarily have to be within the blue zone in Glasgow at COP. I'll let Francesco and James speak a little bit more about this as well.
Yeah, just very briefly, it's called the UNFCCC, that's the United Nations Convention, let's say, constituencies or groups of people. And one is the Youngos, the organization of the young people. And very much what Bethany was saying, the Conference of the Youth was where they prepared their position. So that's a more formal part, let's say, and that's how they participate. There has been a problem the first 2 days at COP26, and that's that even just physically, the building was blocked, meaning that the part where the negotiations were taking place, people like myself with an observer badge were not allowed in. The rationale for that was that there was too many presidents, too many prime ministers, there was a security issue, there was COVID. And actually, of Youngos, for example, only 4 people were allowed in. And there were other, I think, maybe 9 constituencies. So you do the math. There were 36 people that were allowed for 2 days to observe the negotiations. And that is not good. That is not good. That is not what this process should all be about. Now, from today, I understand that more people will be able to observe, more people will be able to participate, let's say. I have to say one thing, however, is that in some delegations themselves, there are a lot of young people. So yesterday I was listening, for example, to the Attorney General of Fiji, and he was saying, look, I mean, 70% of our population is under 30 or under 40. So there are some parts of the world where actually even the delegations themselves will be very young in a way. So there are different ways, there are different places where the young people can provide that influence. And obviously, last thing, they will provide their voice on the streets. There's going to be a big climate march, a climate strike on Friday here in Glasgow. So there are different ways of doing it.
I think it's really important to acknowledge this year, particularly, the lack of equity and access for young people as well, and which young people. So there are these really important streams for young people to join and participate. Even if we just think about the locations of the last, 6 or 8 COPs, Katowice in Poland, Paris, the one that was in Chile actually ended up being in Madrid. The one that was hosted by Fiji ended up being in Germany. Even those in Africa have been in Morocco and now in Egypt. So geographically wise, the COP is very biased towards Europe in many respects. And so for these NGO or youth stakeholders that participate, you do have a good representation from European countries. And more needs to be done to have representation from Africa, Latin America, Asia, the Pacific, Caribbean as well. And I think that has been compounded this year with the travel, the hike in the cost of travel, the uncertainties around the COP and everything else.
Thank you so much for your answers there. That's really great. I'll just take one more question and I'll direct this to Andy as well. Chris McCarthy has asked if we may use the video in a public workshop, and we would love the video to be seen by as many people as possible, especially during COP. And so Andy's just posted the video in the chat just there, the link to the video, so you can access it there. And yeah, we'd really like it if you could talk about our project a little bit, and also really give thanks to the Scottish Government for funding this project and making it all happen if you are going to show it in different places. I'll let Andy talk a little bit more about how you can use the film.
Hopefully you can find many ways to use the film. It'd be great to get it out there to as wide an audience as possible, and certainly, we encourage everybody to share the video widely. It is downloadable and can be embedded on any web domain. So yes, let's get it out there. I think it needs to be seen by as many people as possible, especially people in power, people who have the power to make decisions that are going to improve the future for this generation coming.
Great, thank you so much, Andy. So I'll round things off there, and I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you for joining. I'd also like to say a massive thank you to Island Innovation for hosting this event with us, and also for hosting and producing the online interactive map, which you can find in their island space at COP26 website, if you want to explore the messages further and where they've all come from. We'd also like to say a massive thank you to the Scottish Government Islands team for their support and funding of this project, without which it really would not be possible. Also a massive thank you to Andy McKinnon, who has produced this film as our main artistic partner at Uist Film and Taigh Chearsabhagh. And yeah, just a massive thank you, Andy, because the film really has had a great impact on all of us here today, I think. A massive thank you to Francesca Sindico as well, and all of the support from everyone at Skelg, who has really, helped get this project together. We'd also like to thank Youth Scotland for their work with our island champions, the Glasgow Science Centre, who will be showing the film in the Green Zone as well. So if you're in the Green Zone, you can check that out. Also the Scottish Islands Federation and the Highlands and Islands Enterprise. And yeah, just all of the organisations that have been involved and really made this project happen. Yeah, we're really excited to keep sharing the film further and keep sharing these messages. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining. And just as we let you all leave the call, I'll play a longer version of the animation that we showed at the beginning by Ingrid Henderson, who has another project called Message in a Bottle, which was an album commissioned by Nature Scott for the Year of Coasts and Waters in 2020. So I'll share my screen again and just say thank you to everyone who's joined, and you can watch the animation to finish this off. Yeah, thank you so much.
of the